I tell you what, sitting here this Wednesday lunchtime, the sun's shining. We beat Benfica 3-0 in the Champions League last night. 3-0. That's right. 3-0. Gordon gets the goal. Barnes gets 2. Thinking flying through the week, it gets even better. This lunchtime, it's been reported that Sandro TONALI has signed a 2-year extension with the club, taking his contract till 2030. Yes, guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. As I say, on this lovely sunny lunchtime, come out here for a quick chat about TONALI, about the game last night, about the game coming up this Saturday against Fulham. Things come in threes, don't they? Win against Benfica, TONALI, new deal. Win against Fulham at the weekend. I hope so. Really stepped it up last night. Great game without TONALI. That's the thing. TONALI didn't play last night. Bruno. Yeah, I gave man of the match to Gordon last night. I thought he played really well. As I mentioned, he looked like he was running on air. Like he was a yard quicker than he normally is. He looked like he really wanted it. He took players on. I thought he had a fantastic performance. Bruno was a clear standout as well. He clearly wanted it. He wanted the ball. I thought Ramsey played well. I thought, for a lad who hasn't had a lot of game time, has come back from injury, had a lot of energy about him, offered a little bit of something different. And I think Miley, funny enough, in that number 6 position, played really well too. So there you go. Without Sandro TONALI, I thought we actually had a really good game. And I said this last night though. However, I think it would have been even better had TONALI played. But that's what it's all about. That is the point of having a squad. And I'm hoping to see Eddie Howe start to embrace it a little bit more. We saw Murphy come in. I think it was a fair crack to give Elanga the chances that he's had. But it was just getting to the point now where it didn't look like he was going to turn around his form on his own, and maybe dropping him out of the squad was the right thing to do. Played out that way. I thought Murphy played really well. And Barnes comes on and scores 2 off the bench. I'm standing there going, no, don't take Murphy off. Keep Barnes on. Keep Murphy on. He's done so well. What happens? Obviously, Barnes comes on and scores 2 goals. And I've no doubt I'm not the only person who was shouting that at the time. But there you go. Eddie masterclass, or Barnes taking his chance. I think that's what Barnes has typically been all about. He's not always a big part of the build-up plays, someone who can just finish the ball. Essentially, he had 2 touches of the ball. Both of them were in the back of the net. So loads of positives to pick from that game. And we move into Fulham at the weekend. And I think that's where we need to bring that over into this game. Gordon, amazing against Union SG, amazing against, Barca, Benfica. What is it with us in playing well in the Champions League? Gordon, like, amazing for England. But again, he's playing against teams that are probably letting him have a little bit more time on the ball. Is the reason Gordon looked so fast is just because Benfica was slow, And I think that's why we need to pull it over this weekend, pull it over against Fulham, and as I say, make it into 3. And I think for me, despite the good game of Ramsey and Miley, I want to see TONALI back in the lineup. The man who has just signed, or had signed a few years ago, a new 2-year extension with the club. Ross Wilson, the new director of football, that was his first big win. Yes, first big win since becoming director of football at Newcastle. There has been rumours swirling as to whether he's going to start to get on the ball with these contracts. We know what happened to Alexander Isak in the summer. It's fun to laugh right now. He's all over social media getting stick because he has not started his Liverpool career particularly well. Cross your fingers, touch wood, whatever you want, because I think Isak is a good player. And it's funny as it is to laugh right now that he has had that tough start. And look, long may it continue. And I'm glad that Voltemada's come in and taken it by the scruff of the neck and had some really good games for Newcastle, scored some important goals. The reality is that if, Liverpool have spent a lot of money on him, I think, you never know. But I think he's a good player at heart, and I think, well, he's not a good person at heart. But I think he'll probably will come good for Liverpool. So we'll continue to laugh while we can. But anyway, the contract situation, obviously we were on the back foot with Isak. We didn't get probably the extension that we should have. It made us somewhat more vulnerable to selling him. We did still get a hell of a lot of money for him, so it didn't work out too badly, did it? But we want to make sure that's sorted, and we want to make sure that's not happening to other players. And the question marks are around, the likes of a Nick Pope. 1 year, well, his contract was due to end at the end of this season. Question marks were, would we give him another deal? Well, reports came out just a week or so ago that Nick Pope has signed a new deal, that he will be at the club, and it was a 12-month extension. So I think it was in the contract that it was up to him as to whether he wanted to fulfill that extra year. Nick Pope has said he wants to, and again, off the back of last night, very happy for him to do so. Makes some great saves with his hands, gets an assist where he throws the ball down the end of the other pitch. Why is Nick Pope even trying to kick the ball anymore? Just throw it for everything, Nick. What made me laugh as well, literally moments after Nick Pope got the assist last night for throwing the ball at Barnes, he kicked it straight out. And he just put his arm up like, yeah, sorry about that. And the crowd laughed. Now, that was a funny moment in its instance. I wasn't laughing for a lot of the game because it is worrying when he does get the ball, but we know where Nick Pope is. I don't think that's really going to change. I think this is a department that we either look to give Ramsdale some game time, or we hold Ramsdale till the end of the year, maybe don't buy him, and then we do go out and spend the money on a goalie. We had a lot of talk about it in the summer. It looks like Nick Pope is still Eddie Howe's man, which again, for now, it's fine, and it worked last night. It's something that we need to look at. But a year extension makes sense. What was interesting, however, about what Nick Pope said, because he was asked about it ahead of the Benfica game in the pre-match press conference alongside Eddie Howe. Great to hear that you signed a new year extension at Newcastle. When was that done? And Nick Pope laughed and went, what, the one I signed, the contract I signed 3 years ago? Part of that tongue-in-cheek. Part of that, I think, because it was obviously the 3 years plus a year, or whatever he signed, it was plus a year. So really, he'd already signed it. That was the tongue-in-cheek. I presume it was more recent that he agreed that he would take that extra year. And it's somewhat similar to the new deal with Sandro Tonali. So as I've mentioned, Ross Wilson has obviously been appointed as his new role at Newcastle, and a lot of the talk has been contracts. Who's he going to hit first? What's going to happen next? Tonali was top of the hit list. The man who came in and quite quickly was out again, unable to play due to his ban at Newcastle, and suddenly, that contract of 4 or 5 years is shrunk down to 3 due to the amount of time that we've actually been able to play him. Now, reports coming out that he was on Wilson's hit list. He was going to be the man that Newcastle looked to give an extension to. Well, it has extended, but has been for a few years. Reports coming out from the Daily Mail, from the Telegraph today, that Sandro Tonali's contract in 2023, due to the ban, due to the support that Tonali received from the club, that he wanted to extend his contract to show his appreciation to the club due to the time he will be out. So instead of it being a 5-year deal, it was essentially pushed to a 7-year deal. So on top of the 5-year deal that Tonali signed at the time in 2023, that would have been ran down to, I guess, 2 years left at the end of this summer. Essentially at that point, if Newcastle were unable to give Tonali a new deal, this is why it was scary. This is why people wanted something done. Because once you're a year on your contract, the amount of money you could ask for goes down. Essentially, what you want to be doing these days is selling a player with 2 years left on their deal, because that's when you can extract the maximum profits. That was essentially what was starting to happen with Alexander Isak. If we didn't want to sell him, we didn't have to sell him. But if you do keep him another year and you don't get the money at the time, it's always going to go down. So that's the thing with Tonali. But there you go. We don't have to think about it, because reports are back in 2023. He signed an extra 2-year extension on that deal to take him to 2029, was similar to Nick Pope, with an additional option of 12 months on top. So there you go. Sandro Tonali, signed, sealed, delivered to Newcastle till 2029 at the minimum, and likely 2030. And obviously, we're a club that's building. We're a club that didn't really want to sell Isak. As it's worked out, we're not doing too badly out of it. Having said that, the issues Isak's having is because of where he's gone. You know, if we still had Murphy putting them on a plate for him, he could well be stuck to scoring where he is. So, look, there you go. The grass isn't always greener, Isak. Maybe it's a great thing for us to show the likes of TONALI, Bruno, and whoever else, the grass isn't always greener. You're playing Champions League football right now, and you undoubtedly... Well, that's the thing. He signed the extension. A lot of the talk had been, and this might still come out to this point, you know, it's still possible that Newcastle could re-enter negotiations because actually, TONALI, you extended... I don't imagine at the time TONALI warranted a price, a wage increase, really. He wasn't even playing. He was sat out on the training ground. So I think it was good of the club and player to agree that an extension was welcome because of the game time that he missed. I think it's still very possible that we could enter negotiations over maybe an increased contract. And I think that's probably a big thing for Ross Wilson as well. Look, there's players there, like a Shaw, like a Trippier. Nick Pope signed his new deal. Like a Lascelles, there's no, I wouldn't really say there's any eye-catching players. I think you would probably say that Shaw is probably Shaw and Trippier on that list are the eye-catchers. Trippier, I think, may well... from what rumours are talking, may well look to try something new. You know, he's come to Newcastle. There's rumours that he was going to go to Bayern Munich. There was rumours going that he could go somewhere else. You know, I would like to keep Trippier for another year, if not two. And I think Shaw will probably sign an extension if I had to guess. And then after that, you're looking at Bruno's, Joe Linton's and a few other players there. Gordon signed the long-term. TONALI signed the long-term. Pope's got another year. We will wait and see what we have to do. And from that, we can start to look at what we want to do this January window. We talk about squad depth. I'm pleased with what we've got, but undeniably, there's still situations where it feels light on the ground. You know, TONALI, Joe Linton, Bruno all come back from international duty. We're going to have to play some of them. You can't not play them. And we kind of saw that again in the Brighton game. I thought Joe Linton looked tired. I didn't think Bruno looked quite right. So, and obviously Voltemada is heavy pressure on him. What's going to happen with Wizza? Ross Wilson is in the job, and he's the man that'll get cracking. But yeah, big win last night. If you want to give me more comments down below on your man of the match and thoughts, let me know down below. Great to hear TONALI's extension. Fulham on Saturday. We need to carry this over into the Prem. And I think TONALI is going to be a big part of us achieving in all competitions this year. So yes, great news on him. Thoughts on if you're happy, if you're still watching now, and you are happy to see TONALI sign a new contract, drop a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I will be back this Saturday for the game against Fulham. Hopefully, as I say, we can take this Champions League form into the Premier League at St James's Park. Saturday kickoff, 3 o'clock kickoff. We don't get many of them anymore, so I'm looking forward to it. I'll be out early for the early kickoff. Few beers, should be good. Thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy your day, and I'll catch you later.